Hey everyone, welcome to Open Eyes. Hey everyone, welcome to Open Eyes.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I wanted to talk about rare diseases and also my rare disease, which is Bardet-Biedl syndrome, talk about that a little bit more, and just y'all listen to how rare diseases come about and what they are. So when I was born, they only told my mom that I only had a few of the symptoms of this syndrome that I could have, but they need to do testing and they need to see, if this is actually a match or not. But that was like 20 something years ago where the technology wasn't the greatest, So years went on, and I had more and more symptoms. I had really just kept unrolling the symptoms even more and more. But when I turned 17, I lost my vision and I went legally blind. And during that process of the testing to figure out what eye condition I had, to actually specify, because they thought I had one, but then it turned out being a retinitis pigmentosa. And also, at that point, they did rightfully say she does have the syndrome of Bardet-Biedl syndrome, and yes, it is now pronouncedly diagnosed through blood work, through the DNA sequencing that I got done to see what type of retinitis pigmentosa I have that they do for you when you do all these terrible testings that no one needs to go through, but it's a process that we all have to do to figure out our eyesight and figure out what eye condition we have. And so after me knowing, so it is really diagnosed that I do have this syndrome that I was told throughout my life that I had it with my family, and them telling me, so when I was diagnosed with both the retinitis pigmentosa and the Bardet-Biedl syndrome, I just went and I researched, and I just wanted to educate myself of what this syndrome was. How does it affect me? To know, so there is a treatment, and just to know more about my rare disease, because it is very uncommon, and it's only 1 out of 3 people in the United States that have this syndrome. It's very rare, and so it just made me want to just investigate more about it, and also educate myself over retinitis pigmentosa, read more about that, and see what all that's about. So after educating myself, because I never have known anyone with a rare disease, I have never known anyone with eye condition, so it all was very brand new to me, and I was like, so let's figure out what this is. So after all that, I got more intrigued, and I was like, so this is really fascinating. I didn't know this whole thing was a community, and there's so many undefined rare diseases, and this is so common for someone to find out that they have a rare disease later in life, because they say it takes up to 6 to 7 years for someone to get a diagnosis that has a rare disease. But out of all what I've heard is it's more common for 17, 20 so plus years to figure out you have a rare disease. And so after that, I came up with so how can I help people that don't know they have a rare disease, or how can I help someone educate themselves over retinitis pigmentosa? Because I saw that in my age range, there wasn't a lot of support. There wasn't a large community that people that had an eye condition that I knew were from birth, and I always felt out of place, because everyone already knew their diagnostics, already knew about their eye condition, they already knew how to accommodate themselves, they already knew all these things, and I barely was starting. So I felt like there was a need and a want for me to create a community for people that are in my situation, that get recently diagnosed later in life, and maybe they have a career, they have a job, they drove and now they can't drive, and or they feel like a burden because maybe they have children now, maybe they have issues seeing their children, being attentive to their children. And that is very common for someone that has retinitis pigmentosa or a progressive eye disease. And I was like, okay, now how can I help? How can I be that point? And then I was like, okay, so I'm gonna start being in social media and seeing what I can do. And I always have been a person that loves to volunteer in any which way. If it's with children, is it with adults? Is it with elderly? Is it with young adults? I always was like, okay, I'm gonna find these volunteer opportunities. And I was like, okay, so I was just looking around because I always like to find something new. And I came across this foundation that was needing help because they were barely starting. I read the description and I was like, oh, that sounds perfect for me. Since being a bilingual person, speaking both English and Spanish so fluently, I was like, oh, this is great. I can help out my community in both ways. And also, I see that it's something that I like and I love to do. So I started with that, and I just kept learning more and more about different rare diseases. And then I always kind of had a struggle before being diagnosed to talk about having a rare disease and having this syndrome. I was always like, okay, I'm gonna focus on other people's, or I'm gonna focus helping others instead of focusing and educating myself about my condition, because I was always like skeptical. I was like, oh, I just know I have this and that's all. But now that I've learned about so many rare diseases and I've met people and that have been in similar situations, and I met so many people that have educated me, I started just diving into my own rare disease and sharing my own story and sharing, oh, okay, this is very common. I feel like I am in a community now and more like an alleviation stage in my life where I'm like, okay, and now it's time to figure out how I can learn more about my syndrome and learn about this disease, but also in the way of still helping people with their rare disease and other rare diseases as well. And I've always had a nature of helping people because when I was little, I've always had the support of so many government issued systems and programs, and I was like, okay, I feel like I need to give that back to people, knowing that there's people there have various situations or don't have the correct income, or I know there's something I could do to help out. So that's why I fell in love with helping people in the rare community, and it has evolved me into finding a career in public health and loving that, and just loving more the back end of things, of just knowing, oh, there's just more to just, oh, what can I help you with? There's various steps to getting to the end result, to the end goal. And that has helped me figure out what rare diseases are and how can I help them. And that is my love for having people with rare diseases and things like that. And I just hope you can educate yourself more about rare diseases and help out in this community that we live in, the society that we live in. It's needed. So thanks.